Let's begin a journey into the realm of what-ifs on history of alternative choices. We will try to paint a picture of different world, in which one of most important historic decision was different. Picture the stage of the world in the early 1940s, in the throes of the Second Great War, and at its helm, the infamous Adolf Hitler. But in this parallel universe, a pivotal decision deviates from the course of history we know. Hitler chooses not to invade the Soviet Union. Instead of the horrific images of Operation Barbarossa, we find Nazi Germany channeling its might into a different direction. With the specter of the Eastern Front non-existent, the German war machine turns its full gaze westwards, and Britain, standing alone against the Nazi onslaught, is faced with a far greater threat. Across the Atlantic, the United States, still recovering from the shock of Pearl Harbor, find themselves gauging a very different European conflict. Their entry into the European theater is perhaps delayed, changing the rhythm of the entire war. In our world, we saw the horrific end of the Third Reich, but in this alternate timeline, the absence of the Eastern Front might have granted it a longer, even more chilling lifespan, leading to a Europe that bears a different scar from the war. Now, let's journey a few years ahead to a time of tense peace, the era we know as the Cold War. But remember, we're treading a different path of history here. In this world, where Nazi Germany might have lingered longer, the start of the Cold War as we know it might have been delayed or perhaps transformed into something entirely different. Without the devastating impact of Operation Barbarossa, which resulted in immense loss of life and infrastructure, the Soviet Union could have potentially experienced more stable economic growth. The USSR's rapid industrialization might have proceeded with fewer hitches, leading to a stronger economy. Remember the infamous Iron Curtain? In this alternate world, without the Soviets liberating and then occupying Eastern Europe, that curtain may not have descended as it did, painting a different color on the canvas of global politics. Without the shared experience of fighting against Nazi Germany, the USSR might not have developed as close a relationship with other Allied powers. The shape and dynamics of international organizations like the United Nations could be different. The USSR's technological development might have been different without the impetus of World War II. The competition with the US, especially in the space race, might have played out differently, impacting the nation's scientific and technological landscape. If the political landscape of Europe had been different, say, with a more prominent Nazi Germany or a less influential USSR, then the nations choosing or being invited to join NATO could have been different. Eastern European countries that were historically part of the Warsaw Pact might not have been under Soviet influence and could potentially have been initial members of NATO. If the USSR was not perceived as a significant threat, other alliances may have been formed to counter the lingering presence of a more potent Nazi Germany or other emerging threats. Alternatively, without a clear and present danger, the countries may have chosen a path of non-alignment or neutrality. And amidst all these ripples of change, the development and use of nuclear weapons, the harrowing hallmark of the Cold War era, might have followed a different timeline, influencing the world's destiny in new, uncertain ways. As we draw the curtains on this episode, we're left to marvel at how a single decision can set off a domino effect, altering the course of history and leaving us with a world both familiar and estranged. So ends our journey through the mirror of what-ifs. Remember, these tales are but echoes of the past refracted through the lens of imagination. They remind us to appreciate the complex, intricate tapestry of history as it unfolded. Join us on our next adventure, as we explore another historical crossroad in an alternate reality. Until then, remember, the world is but a canvas to our imagination.